How's it going, everyone? Alex with Jeeps Limited here. So today I'm working on my YJ. I have the steering shaft out. The reason why I have the steering shaft out, it's a long, unfortunate story, actually. The turn signal was just like crunchy and sticky. For a long, long time, you had to manually turn it on and off. And I was just kind of tinkering with it the other day, like, oh, I probably can clean it out, maybe grease it up a little bit and take care of that problem. I was wrong. I wasn't able to fix that, and this snowballed into just redoing everything here. A couple of the problems I had, I was just trying to take this apart, and as I was taking it apart, I kind of just concluded I should just get a new turn signal switch, and then the switch that sits in here for the washers. Trying to get this whole unit apart is difficult, and actually technically to do it right you're supposed to take the steering column out. I was like, okay, I probably don't need to do that. That's stupid. You do need to do that. Actually, I can guarantee it to you. You need to do that to be able to take this valance off that sits back here. When I was trying to take it off, I figured it like pops out. It has like some kind of clips or something that hold it in. It's not, and it's screwed in. So I broke it in the process of doing that, which is unfortunate because these are hard to find. Nobody makes them anymore. I couldn't even find one for a Jeep. This is actually for like a 85 S10 or Blazer or something like that. It's the same part number, and it fits properly. It's just slightly different color, but oh well, kind of is what it is. I just broke out one of these tabs trying to get it off. When I did that, it just like split out the side. And then messing with this the other day, I actually broke this one a little bit trying to get it on there without taking the steering column off. And when I did that, I was like, okay, I should just stop and just do this the right way. So that's where we're at. And while I had the column out, I got just a new ignition switch and a new, so it's called the dimmer switch, I believe. That's what controls your high-low beams, I think. It gets mounted down on the shaft. So I've got that. I've got a new ignition switch. I have a new turn signal switch, which is already kind of in here because I was already messing with it, obviously. And a new wiper switch as well, which is just already in there. So I'm just going to put all this back together. I do not remember how it came apart. I took this apart a couple weeks ago. I've worked on this a lot just to get to this point. So I'm going to have to kind of try and remember how it goes back together, and then probably reference a whole bunch of pictures and videos on the internet. Another thing I'm doing, when I was trying to take this off originally, the arm that holds the rod here that goes down to the ignition switch sits something like that-ish. I broke the little mechanical arm here that attaches to the actual cylinder, so I have to replace that as well. But luckily, I bought a whole steering wheel assembly from that S10, so it came with one of these. So I'm gonna swap that out as well, which is probably what I'm gonna get started with here. So yeah, follow along. Hopefully, this might be useful to somebody that's trying to mess with any of this stuff. Step number 1: just pull the whole shaft off and do this on the workbench. It's just going to be a lot easier. You're going to save yourself a lot of hassle. Or just buy a whole new good steering column, which would have been cheaper and easier at this point. But, you know, here we are. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just get started just trying to put this thing back together. Alright, to actually get the cylinder out, the lock cylinder out, to replace that, there's, I guess, 2 different ways you could do it. I wasn't able to find how to do it properly on the internet. I got close, but I couldn't find anybody that had the same setup that I do. I don't know if you'll even be able to see this, but there's a little way down in here attached to the cylinder, a little tab you have to push in, and then the cylinder pulls out, which was a super big pain to figure out. I've already had this out, obviously, so I do know it comes out that way. There we go. See, there's a little button here. You have to push that in, and then it just slides right out. Then you have to take that out to be able to just roll this up and out. Okay, now we can put it right back in. Throw a little bit of grease on this. Good measure as well. I don't have the right grease, so I'm using brake parts lubricant. Grease is grease, right? Hopefully I have all that lined up properly. If it's not lined up properly, it's going to be a little wonky, but... Well, actually, if it's not lined up properly, it just simply won't go together. And I won't know that until I go move on to the next step. You really made sure to leave you a lot of room in here to do everything you need to do. Could have, know, made it bigger, but no. Okay. Now, on the YJs, it's got that little lever here that operate to... I don't remember if it's to turn the ignition off, get your key out. I don't remember. I just know where it goes. So there's a little spring, a little washer, and then the lever. The lever goes over this armature. I don't know. It hooks right there, and that plastic piece. I put a little bit of grease on the spring, that way I can just get grease all over myself and everything I touch. I'm just gonna grease it. There was a lot of grease in here in the first place, so we'll just put a lot of grease back in here. To get the spring hooked on the lever and then pushed into there. Okay. And the lever rides on, push it off. I'll show you later. Well, maybe I won't. You won't be able to see it. It rides on this arm and allows you to, I believe, get the key out. I think. I don't remember. Okay, now we have to put this metal plate back in here, which will probably grease, I suppose. I don't know if it had grease on it before, but it's got grease on it now, so whatever. And it goes in one way. Okay. That's just gonna just sit there and fall out the whole time you're trying to do this. This arm's gonna try and fall off. The washer's gonna try and fall out. You can do all kinds of things. I think I need a smaller screwdriver before I brought a bunch. Okay. This piece has to go on now, and this is why you have to take the steering column off, because you really can't get to the screws in here without taking the steering column off. It's all wrong. Okay, we're gonna set this aside. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna actually I need to put the ignition switch and the dimmer switch on to see. This has to get hooked into here before you put that on. Like I said, I'm just figuring this out as I go. Again, not a how-to, just a how I'm doing it. We will set this aside and decide if we're even going to put it back in later, but I can do that later. Okay. That is our ignition switch. It will sit somewhere, sit somewhere where yonder, I believe. And then the other side of that rod goes into there. That's what you just basically, when you turn the key, it pushes the rod back and forth. Okay. It is the dimmer switch, which connects to a different rod that's connected to the turn signal doobly-doo, the turn signal lever, and controls, I suppose, your high and low beam. I don't actually know. And we're going to refer to some pictures of how this was done. Goes on like such, and that had a stud holding it in. Okay. It was in fact not the right part. Everything about it is the same with the exception of this little piece here is a different size. And then the location okay. I'll put the rod on first. I'm gonna grease it. So it is the same. Yes and no, it's a newer version, but it is right. I just don't know how to install it. It's pretty much to be expected. The cool thing about the way I do things is I can take 1,000 pictures and just not get pictures of how the fuck it actually goes together. It can't go any way other than that. It just certainly doesn't seem right. I will say, in all honesty, of all the things I've done on this car, I think messing with this steering column the past 2 or 3 weeks, yes, 2 or 3 weeks, has been the most frustrating thing I've done yet. It's just very annoying. This is not even machined quite correctly. Boy. That'll do. Oh my fucking God. This is what the last, like I said, couple of weeks of working on this particular piece has been like. Nothing goes right. Alrighty then. Odds are that's going to have to get adjusted. And send those so that I can loosen them later. Okay. Now we can start to put this together. Now that there's 1,000 more pieces of shit on the table here. We'll see how many times I start to put this together and then have to stop to take it apart again for some reason. I'm still seeing, I don't know, I still don't know how you're supposed to do this. I don't know how you're supposed to get that rod now into there. Okay, I'm going to take it all apart really quick here. We're going to put this together last, which is I think what I was originally planning on doing before, and then it just didn't. At least I know how it goes together now. Those aside. The reason why I have to do it that way, I don't see how else you're supposed to be able to get this into there like that. Now that it's in there, I'm going to thread it all through this next piece. There's no way this was the most efficient way to do this on an assembly line either. I'm just throwing it out there. None of this makes any sense. Okay. Spin this around. To make sure we get the washer for that lever in there. I'm going to attempt to use some grease to hold it in there. Don't know what direction it's supposed to face. Don't know anything. And then what holds that in is one of the screws that goes through the back of this. So we have the lever on, we have the rod on. I've been here before many times. Yep, got to make sure you get the rod through the right spot. In the first place, which it didn't. Have this all the way off. This little cutout here that doesn't, well, it doesn't need to be there because it also supports the bottom here, which actually we're going to grease it. You have to get the rod through there, which I didn't do the first time. Grease all of that. It rides on a piece of plastic. All that back through again. Stick the rod through there. Hook the rod in place. Hook the rod in place. Okay, our washer's still where it belongs. Lever is in place. Okay. See, now you have to screw all of this together through here, which again is why I do not believe you can do this steering column on. Don't know what screws go where anymore either. Just guessing, and I think that's the wrong one. A lot of guessing going on. Okay, that is where it belongs. I'm going to go ahead and grease this a little bit. This goes into the turn signal lever, the windshield washers. Goes from the windshield washer switch to the dimmer switch. Now that we've done that, I believe we can start slide all of this back together. And I do have to put this on, but I'm gambling on, no, I can't. This has clips to clip into there, so I reason to believe I can get that on afterwards. But you won't be able to slide it past all the ignition crap. Not going to put it on there, but I'm just going to slide everything through there because I want to make sure I can get to these rods if need be, to make sure they are in fact where they need to be. All going well. All going real well. Actually are kind of getting where we need to be. Everything seems to be intact. I don't know how all this is really supposed to go together. I really don't. I do know I could take this out of the way if I wanted to. This one, the turn signal switch, this has to be in place by now. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to get it where it needs to be. And this, getting hung up on something. I just don't know what. Obviously can't see anything. I believe we might be in place now. I'm going to put that onto there, and it actually should keep that from moving out of place. I just want the record to show I just, at this point, am not sure what I'm doing. I'm just doing things until other things happen. Okay. Should be where it belongs. I think it's all lined up. Now it's got 4 screws here. Inside of there to hold the whole housing, the shaft there. Which are a pain in the ass to do. That's a cover. Covers the wires. That probably doesn't need to be installed yet. You can't see these screws either because it's covered with this cover that I think probably could have been designed differently. But, you know, not an engineer. And obviously the engineer that was tasked with designing this steering wheel column was not a mechanic. Clearly. And now this piece, so this piece here, this valance we'll call it, I did get a whole nother, like the whole thing, right? But 3 pieces of plastic and 2 bad switches that it came with, probably bad switches, was $150. So it's also kind of annoying that I broke that already. Also not quite the same color, but it's pretty close. I might be able to paint it or something, or just have to deal with it. I don't know. It's better than not having one. I am naturally not good with stuff like this. I'm not good at any of this, obviously. This type of stuff here, I'm very bad at. I'm not very patient, and this takes a lot of patience. So it's been a very frustrating, like I said, 2 weeks or so, at least, I've been dealing with this, which all started with me just simply trying to clean out a crusty switch, or check the bin. I do not believe I forgot to put anything in there, so that's good. Okay. See, there's no way to verify anything is still in place. You just can't see any of it. Which is just kind of stupid. So if we... See, one thing this didn't do, this didn't return properly before, which meant it was all just bunged up with crap. And then, seems like that returns, so that would be starting it. It's just power on, bring it back, push the lever down, and we can unlock, take the key out. So as soon as that works, test the high-lows. Not that important, it's not that hard to get off. Put there we go. Okay, that's wrong. Okay. So whatever controls the rod for the high lows is bound up, but, and I think easy enough to fix. Loosen that. Slide that. Step number 1, remove the pin that keeps it from moving. I don't know why. I don't know why that would be there. Seems to work. See, it doesn't, I don't know. I would assume, like most vehicles, you can pull the lever one way to flash your brights and push it the other way to turn it on, but this only moves in one direction. Doesn't stay. So it must just be like an on, off, on. I don't know. I'm just not even going to worry about that. I think that's how it works. I just don't even know. So, make sure that that position works good for the ignition. Works wonderfully. I do believe this really only fits one way. And it's also just got screws that you have to line up, so it's, you know. Must be making a turn now. Sure doesn't line up well. Good sounds coming from that too. Okay. Now, screw this back in, even though it's just really not a necessary step right now, but it does help me make sure that everything is in properly. Okay. So really the only thing that's left, I believe, is that lever. User error. Only seems to work part of the time. So we're gonna solve that at a later time by either ignoring it completely or probably just cutting this plastic out slightly. And then when that fails, finally driving this vehicle, I'll just I don't know, use hand signals. Good enough. Okay. At this point, I'm actually going to go ahead and put this back in the car. Everything seems to work as it should. Alright, so I got the steering column put back in, and I can assure you that was a bigger pain in the butt than it needed to be. There's not a lot left that goes on here. First, you just drop that spring back on there. And this, I don't know what that piece does. Probably has something to do with the horn. I really don't know. I think it does. I think it's like the switch for the horn. Okay, so that goes on there. Then this goes on. And you have to depress this quite a bit. There's here a little groove back here that a little snap ring goes on. I make a tool to do this. But I don't have that tool, so I found a way to get it off. Which I'm gonna use to try and get it back on. Which consists of making a makeshift tool here. And yeah, it was a pain. It's gonna be a pain again, I'm sure. There's a possibility that the shaft is not out all the way. shaft moves a lot. I don't know why it does that either. I don't know a lot of things. Let's see if that works better for us. Now, what's going to keep the shaft from pushing right back in, I don't know. I can show you that little snap ring. It goes right here. There we go. Take our apparatus off here. Now this piece, I do believe, just kind of popped in there, if I'm not mistaken. Really just a dust shield. Okay, now I did already, before I got this far, I did check to make sure that the ignition worked, which it did start. And then I kind of tested the turn signal, but they don't work. But I actually think that's something other than that. It's probably because the lights aren't done. There's no light switch or anything, so that's probably causing that. But yeah, now I'm going to put the steering wheel on. I'm not going to put it on all the way, because I'm going to take it off until I get the dash back together. That way it's just not in my way. But I can start it now and actually test out my power steering and make sure that works. So I'm going to throw the steering wheel on and probably test that out. Alright, we'll do the only obvious thing and start it with the door closed. Well, it works. It's probably just wickedly out of alignment. But yeah, it works. That felt pretty smooth. It needs to be burped for sure. But it works smooth, so that's cool. So I guess that's getting us one step closer here to being able to drive this thing, is have a functioning steering wheel. Alright, well, steering column is put back together. Steering works. That's good. There's, it's got to be aligned and everything. And I'm not going to put the steering wheel on all the way until I'm done putting the dash on, which is probably going to be the next video, is kind of just reassembling the dash. But otherwise, what a pain in the butt that was. Just kind of a goofy design, but it's done now. So I replaced the ignition switch. I replaced the high-low beam, or dimmer switch is what it's called, I believe. I replaced the turn signal switch and then the windshield washer actuator. That was the three pieces that I replaced there. And then the plastic cowl piece I got, therefore, it was an 85, I believe, S10 and Blazer. I just could not find one for a YJ. They're the same part number. They fit perfectly together. Those are hard to find too, and they're really freaking expensive for what they are, but so just be careful with them. This one actually broke a little bit. It's chipped, so I might just try and touch it up with some plastic JB Weld type stuff or something, and then I don't know if it doesn't match. I don't know if I can paint it or if I'm just going to have to live with it being the wrong color. I'm probably going to try and paint it to match because it's, I think, going to look really dumb being the wrong color, but oh well. Anyways, frustrating time working on that. Glad that it's over. Thank you guys for watching the video, and hope you enjoyed it.